Hi, it's Scott Anthony here, and I wanted to share this with you today. That it was something that came along my way and just reminded me of something that happened about 15 years ago. I remember standing by my best friend's side at his wedding. His name was Alex, and how proud he was as his wife walked down the aisle. And as his wife walked down the aisle, there he stood, the smile on his face, the white of his teeth looked like piano keys, and just he almost had to unwrap the cheeks and his lips. They were just so widely open and wrapped around his ears. And as his wife came walking down the aisle, he was just, his chest just puffed up, and he was just so proud. And I remember that look he gave me when he saw her for the first time, and the words he muttered. It's just a beautiful time. And as married men, it's something that we all go through, and it's a beautiful experience. And quite often I think we forget that, as being married, if you're married the same, it's a place in time that we can't easily recreate. Yet those memories live on in our minds and in our hearts, and I sort of wish my kids were always there to be able to see it. But I remember this wedding of my best friend, and it was beautiful. And his son, his stepson, he was 4 years old, or 3 years old at the time. And he's walking down, and little suit, and just really, really proud. And as my mate saw his son walking down the aisle and his beautiful bride approaching, I still had that memory etched in my mind. That image is just timeless, and I'll never forget it. And then about 12 to 16 months later, we were then at the birth, or I was there shortly after the birth, of his second son's wedding, his own biological son's birth, not wedding. And I remember going into the hospital bed and seeing his wife there holding their son, and stepson next to him. And Michael was there, all just proud of his new brother. And there was my friend Alex, just smile again, ear to ear. He'd finally got what he wanted, the family, the wife, the two boys. It was a beautiful, beautiful time in their lives. And I'll never forget going to the hospital and just seeing this camaraderie, this love, this emotion, this time capsule of just raw emotion, pure excitement, not a care in the world, just the vulnerability of four people madly in love, and this newborn just being a gift from God that they created together. It's outstanding. And then I remember some 4 months later, standing in the same church that we christened their son in, which was the same church that we saw my friend and his bride get married. Yet on this third occasion, I was standing at the lectern, and I was talking to the audience there, or the crowd, or in this case it was the mourners, which is his wife and his sons. It was the family and the friends. And talking about my mate, my best mate, who had no longer found the strength or the courage or the belief that he could continue living, and that the things he wanted from his father and the things he wanted from his mother just weren't there in a capacity that he believed that could give him the energy and the commitment and the belief in himself to just keep on living. So sadly, as I addressed the family and the friends gathered in the church, it was to celebrate my mate's life. A life that he decided to cut short through suicide and leave his son and his wife, or his sons and his wife and his family behind. And I remember the tears running down my face again as I'm trying to read the words I wrote about my best mate Alex, and the love and the encouragement and the support that he gave me. And I remember, as I looked into the crowd, I looked at his coffin, and I thought, Alex, if only you could see what we can see, if only you could feel what we are feeling, and if only you can feel the love that we had for you, that for some reason there was some glass wall that was stopping our love getting through, that gave him the confidence to believe life was worth living. His demons were changeable. He could change the voices in his head. He could find a way through with the love of his friends and his family, that there was another path he could have taken. But the problem was, it was too late. he'd made that decision, and unbeknown to us, it's something he had been battling for a long, long time. So my purpose in life has been to become the best father I can possibly be, and this whole website and business and training courses that I provide are all about helping you believe you're not alone, helping you believe that don't follow my friend Alex's path. Don't let the fear of failure and the desperation of love perhaps gone missing for yourself and for your family and for those that you want to share their love. Don't ever give up. Don't believe that it's not over until someone else changes things. Start to believe that we can each change things. And my friend Alex taught me a very valuable lesson. He was the one person in my life who believed in me. He was the one person in my life that never let me down, that was always there with encouraging words, and he was the one person in my life that would get behind me 100% and tell me how much he believed in me and how I could sell sand in the Middle East and ice to the Eskimos. He just had this unwavering belief, and he would tell me constantly what he believed I could do. And every time I had a doubt or a fear, there was Alex telling me, don't give up. Who am I trying to kid? And so there would be my friend Alex in my corner cheering me on, saying I could sell sand to the Middle East and I could sell ice to the Eskimos. And when I would face a fear, and when my wife and I were going through some circumstances before we got married, there was my friend Alex cheering me on, saying, mate, don't worry about it. She's a beautiful woman. It's all going to be okay. You're going to be together. And, you know, as I think back now of my friend Alex, it's like, that's the kind of man I want to be. That's the kind of father I wanted to be. That's the kind of friend I wanted to be. And he gave me such a gift of expressing to me feelings, words and emotions that other men in my life just haven't really shown me, other than two other friends. And you know, I think as men we often feel alone, we often feel a bit lost, and I think we don't reach out enough when we should. And the men's suicide and the men's frustration of relationships and marital breakdown, and our kids who turn to us looking for the right advice when we don't necessarily believe we have the answers. But what I've learned is my kids look to us, our kids and other kids look to us as the men of the world. And as we bend down and spend time with our kids at their level, and when we sit down next to them and don't necessarily give them the answers to their puzzle, but actually believe in them and show them that we believe in them and that we know that they can achieve anything, and the words we can offer are the same words that my mate Alex offered me, that we can achieve anything if we just set our mind to it. And so as men, I don't want you to feel alone. I want you to just imagine that these kids look at you as if you're their superhero. You aren't just dad, you're incredible, you can do anything. And sure, you might make mistakes sometimes and get things wrong, but they'll still look at us with eyes wide open and hearts ready for our love to embrace them. And you know, my friend Alex, as I think back to the days of standing there at his wedding and his son's birth and his son's christening, and then again at his funeral, it was a celebration of his life. And I remember getting a round of applause at a funeral after the speech I gave, or the eulogy about Alex at his funeral. And it struck me in that moment, just as I think about it now, because this recording is completely unrehearsed, it's not scripted, I'm just talking from the heart as I always do. And I remember looking down and seeing people clapping their hands, and I took that on board to give me the recognition. That's how I took it, that what I had said about Alex, everyone else felt the same way. His love, his friendship, his honesty, his integrity was just mind-blowing. And so many other people in that church felt that same way, and we were all saddened by his loss. So now my passion is to be the best father I can possibly be, and to help other dads know I put my arm around you. I'll pull you in tight and say, you know what? It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel a little bit lost, and it's okay to feel a little bit lonely. But it's not okay to think there's no way out. My friend Alex didn't think there was a way out. And I regret not being there to help him in every way that I perhaps could have. And experts say if we had known more, then some people wouldn't commit the suicide they do. As friends, we can stop it. But I don't think that's the case in every situation. But one thing I do know is when I've faced demons of my own making and other circumstances that have really pushed me up against the wall, it's the kids and the belief and the love that I have in kids and how they are the future that makes me feel alive, that makes me feel proud, and I want you to feel just as proud. I've been away recently talking with some other dads and just listening to them talk about their daughters and their sons and how proud they are and the love that they feel, and some of the relationships they had with their own fathers was not necessarily the way they wanted them to be. But they also realize our fathers didn't know what we know now. They raised us being providers. They raised us knowing the best way of doing what they had been shown. But my mission now is to help dads around the world, and dads just like you, and men to realize we're not alone and there are always new ways. So my name is Scott Anthony, and I am more inspired today than I've ever been. And in the next 15 minutes I'll be back in my car after finishing this video. I'll be driving home and I'll be sitting at the table with 3 of my kids and my wife. My wife, who I still call my bride. And I'm the richest man in the world for the family that I've got. Not the family that I've had, but the family that I've got. The family that I decided to create by blood, sweat and tears like all of us. So if you're missing your family, or if you're sitting with your family, just spend some time just thinking about the good times and thinking about what can be. But don't just think about it. Send them a message. If they're there with you, hold them by the face. Kiss them on the cheek. Tell them you love them. Let them hear your voice whisper in their ear. Let them see it in your eyes and let them feel it in your heart as you pull them close. And if you're not with them, record them a message and send it. Or just send them a quick text message telling them that you love them and that you're thinking of them and can't wait to see them. Even if you haven't seen them for years and perhaps you're not even speaking terms or on speaking terms, don't let that be the thing that stops you. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Today might be our last day. Let's not waste the opportunity of telling our kids how much we love them, because after all, we are the men in their lives. We are the men who they look to either work out what kind of men they should grow up and become themselves, or what kind of men they should fall in love with and inspire them to spend their lives with men who love their families and keep chasing their dreams. We've got a role of responsibility, and it's a role blessed with privilege. And friends of mine who work away a lot and then come home, I see how they interact with their kids when they're home, and it's beautiful. We're lucky, we're blessed, and they're a gift, whether they're near or far, whether they're talking to you or not. Send them a message. Never forget what it will be like to hold your dad in your arms and have him tell you those words, that he loves you and that he's proud of you. That'll be something I'd like. I'd like my dad to do that to me one day, before he steps into his coffin and before his number's up. Until that day comes, I'll just keep giving. And then the day will come where he lets his guard down and he feels like he can say it back to me too. But at the very least, I share it with my son and my daughters. And I share it with my dad too. Have a brilliant day. Today is what you make it. My name is Scott Anthony. Love your family. Love your kids. It's what makes us who we are.